All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 13th of November, 2025. Flyers Daily presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Flyers back at Xfinity Mobile Arena last night, taking on Connor McDavid, Leon Draistl, the Edmonton Oilers, in what was, to me, a very tense game. It was really tense in the building. A tight game. The Oilers were pouring it on the Flyers. When it came to shots on goal, Flyers outshot the Oilers in the third period. Got the game tied on a power play goal. 3 games in a row with goals for Mishkov. He's heating up. And a game the Flyers thought they won with, I think, 23.6 seconds left, but found out that Owen Tippett, by a half an inch, entered the zone before the puck. So the goal was disallowed, and then they lose it in overtime. And it was a very tense environment. Now, when Connor McDavid is there and Leon Draisaitl, you have to be very aware as a player when they are on the ice. Any mistake, and you could be pulling it out of your net. Even a minor mistake, like not getting a puck deep to dump it in and then knocking it down at the top of the circles to shorten the ice. Anything. That's how dynamic he is. And you saw in their first goal, which we'll get into in just a second, the attention that he procures. And you saw the Flyers, because it was McDavid, attract all that attention, and the Flyers collapsed around their net, leaving Evan Bouchard open in the high slot for a one-time goal. He is a dynamic player. Now, he only had an assist in the game, but it was a tense hockey game against a team that can really put up goals. Dan Vlader, excellent in the game. Flyers got outshot 31-21. Vlader made 29 saves on 31 shots. Flyers with 21 on Skinner. I thought the first 6.5 minutes of the game, Flyers really came out and did a good job putting good pressure on Skinner. Now, there was good pressure both ends. Vlader made a great right-to-left save on a 2-on-1 in the first period, exploding over to his glove side and getting down and closing all the holes. And it was a tense game, because there wasn't a lot of scoring. There wasn't much margin for error. And it just built up in intensity as you went through it, as you go into the third period tied. I thought tense games like that sometimes aren't fun, but they are needed. You need to have that, oh my God, one mistake and it could be over, or one break and we could win. That kind of thing, that tension. And I'll tell you what, I felt like that tension in the building last night, insane crowd last night. Awesome. They were juiced up. And at points, they were not happy with what the Flyers are doing as they got hemmed in, especially in the second period. Kate's line got hemmed in. It felt like Edmonton had the puck in the Flyer zone and was working it around for 2.5 minutes. But the thing is they only ended up getting one shot on goal in that entire sequence. Flyers just kept him to the outside. The shot they ended up getting on goal that ended that shift was a shot from the right point. Clear-sighted, Dan Vlader just goes down into the butterfly and eats it and gets a coverage, and they're out of it. Long change in the second period made it difficult, but they protected the middle on that occasion. Flyers protected the middle, I think, pretty well in the game. They've done a really good job at it all season. Flyers are the top-ranked team in expected goals at 5-on-5. They have defended really well. And that's not just the goaltending, not just the defenseman and the goaltending. It's the 5-man unit and the goaltender all doing their job. So as that tension built up in the building, and when Edmonton scores in overtime, it felt like, okay, we've taken another step, because these games mean more now. To have that tension in the building against a team that won the Western Conference, went to the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years, lost in 7 2 years ago, lost in 6 last year to Florida. And I know Edmonton's record hasn't been good this year, but they're still the 2-time Western Conference champion. So it is a bit of a measuring stick. And I think the thing the Flyers can take out of the game is that, you kind of mitigated the damage that McDavid and Draisaitl can do in that game. So if you can do that, you can do that. You have a shot of doing that against Nathan MacKinnon or Mikko Rantanen on Saturday when they play Dallas, and the top players in the game. because if you rely on your structure, you're in good shape. Now, Edmonton's first goal, let's get to the breakdown of these goals. Edmonton's first goal comes late in the first period, 19:05 of the first period to be exact. And for the people listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you're listening on, we're also having video here. If you want to check out the breakdown of the goals, just go to the Flyers YouTube channel, and we'll be doing that. But I'll be speaking about it more like you're just listening. At that point, Flyers trailing after one, heading into the second period, and the Flyers in the second period at 15:38, they go on the power play. We know the power play has been better, but what really makes a power play good is when you need a goal in a game, in a tight game, it was a 1-0 game for Edmonton, you need that power play to grab you one. And here it is. Flyers on the man advantage. I mean, I can't even believe I'm talking about it, that the Flyers are picking up power play goals at this point in the season after so many years where it felt like the power play was so deflating. Flyers enter the zone. TK drops it off to Mishkov. TK goes low, drops it back to York. York gets it to Mishkov, who then delivers it back, goes all the way down below the circles. When he goes down below the circles, he sucks all the Edmonton defenders down to the dots and below. So there's tons of room now at the top because he goes all the way down just about to the goal line. Then he spins it back to York. And because York is a left shot, he is facing the right side of the ice where he's got Couturier stationed. And it looks like he's going to pass it to the right to Couturier. That's the way his torso is pointing. That's the way his stick is angled. Edmonton reads it and starts shading towards Couturier in the right side of the ice. But what does York do? He spins and goes to the left side. Now Mishkov has got some room with traffic in front. Two Flyers are there, an Edmonton defender. They're in the diamond. And Mishkov reads the screen, uses Bouchard to hide the release, and then goes through the legs of Mattias Ekholm with traffic around him, in past Skinner. Mishkov, his third goal in 3 games, power play marker, ties the game. I love how Mishkov just goes low in the zone to bring the Edmonton defense back. It's just a really savvy play that a lot of guys don't think of that he does. And a great rip, too. He's feeling confident. Flyers get it tied at 1. Then, in the third period, late stages, TK, to try and get the game winner, drives the middle of the ice, kind of loses the puck, but it creates a bit of a battle. Tippett picks it up. He drops it back. Eventually, after going behind the net, gets it out to the point, and Travis Sanheim, who walks the line, throws it to the net. TK is there for the tip by Skinner, and boom, Flyers have a 2-1 lead with 23.6 seconds left. Oh, no. If you go back and look at the zone entry, which was 14 seconds earlier. 14 seconds earlier. Owen Tippett just beat the puck in the zone. Goal disallowed. Are you kidding? As Tom McGinnis from the Sixers radio network says, are you kidding me? So it comes off the board. Flyers have had all this perseverance to deal with in these tight games against the Penguins or the Islanders or Montreal, and they've got it once again. They head to overtime. You do not want to deal with McDavid and Draistl in overtime, but that's not who gets it done. In the overtime, as you see here if you're watching, Edmonton goes in on a little rush, and they get a shot to Vlader. He doesn't freeze it. He keeps it in play so his team keeps possession. Now the Flyers going up the ice, neutral zone battle, and Zegras has to lunge for the puck. And when he lunges for it, he creates a loose puck. And then to get possession of it, he tries to poke it back to Cam York. Now, the puck is a little bit on edge. So when he stabs the puck with his stick with one hand on it, blade slightly goes under it. And now the puck's fluttering at Cam York. It's a grenade. And it comes with Cam York, and it's bouncing, and he can't collect it. He gets tied up. And now it's a 2-0 for the Edmonton Oilers going the other way. You're not going to miss these. You don't need McDavid. You don't need Draistl. They go in. Boom. Overtime winner. Edmonton wins the game 2-1. That was Jack Roslovic on the goal. The original battle between Zegras in the neutral zone was with Roslovic. Zegras kind of wins the battle. But look, 3-on-3, we talked about it yesterday. You will move the puck backwards to ultimately move it forwards because it's so much about possession. But here it bites him a little bit. With all the Edmonton pressure flowing that way and Cam York getting tied up, there's no way anybody's going to catch the 2-0. And they end up losing in overtime. But it was a tense hockey game, a tense environment. I felt like that was some kind of step in this whole process last night with Edmonton in the building and, Edmonton not off to a good start, needing to get things moving in the right direction, blah, blah, blah. Tense environment last night. Dan Vlader was excellent in the game, despite the fact that he got trucked not once, not twice, but 3 times. And the last one by Trent Frederick was unacceptable. He just didn't even pull up, just crushed him. You go, well, why is it that big a deal if the goalie gets hit? Well, the goalie's in a massively prone position in a butterfly with his legs out to the sides. He's not bracing for a hit. And you get hit, like you could bend back. There's 1,000 things that could happen. Why contact with goalies is so forbidden when the goalie's especially in the act of making a save. Totally prone. And he got plowed by Frederick. Then there was a little bit of a scrum. And I love that Dan Vlader, after that Janmark was in there yapping his lips, went after him. Threw a little blocker at him. I was proud of him. Dan Vlader was fired up. He's a cool, chill guy, but he's got a lot of compete in him. I thought he was awesome in the game last night. I thought he played really well again. Unfortunate they didn't get the second point, for sure. But you get a point out of it. You guys know how I feel about the loser point. I'd rather have it than not have it, though. So 2-1 loss against Edmonton. Some calling cards set for the next time these two teams face each other. There was an interesting kind of physical exchange in the third period on an Edmonton power play when TK was mixing it up with Connor McDavid. Kind of getting McDavid a little bit off his game. He was getting involved in stuff he usually doesn't get involved in. And TK was being physical with him. They're going up the ice through the neutral zone and battling. And those two played together, obviously, on Team Canada last year at the Four Nations. But, hey, he's wearing a different uniform last night than you were. And you got to try and get under his skin and get him off his game. TK did that. 8-game point streak for Travis Konechny. He thought he had the game winner, too. He had an assist. Cam York with a nice assist again. And Matvei Michkov with 3 goals in a row. So some really good things to take out of the game. The goaltending performance, the way you kind of mitigated what McDavid and Draistl could do against you. Mishkov getting a goal for a 3rd game in a row and a power play goal to boot. Those are all good things. So you take that and move forward with the 1 point and get back at it coming up tomorrow when the Flyers travel to St. Louis. Back-to-back games, Friday and Saturday. Friday in St. Louis, 8 o'clock Eastern. And Saturday, 8 o'clock also when they take on Jake Ottinger, Mikko Rantanen, and the Dallas Stars. So tough 3 games in 4 days. Travel in a different time zone. How they do in these 2 games is very important. Blues not off to a good start. Dallas, obviously, a very good team. So we'll see what the Flyers can accomplish in another 3-game week. And then they're going to have 4 days off before the November 20th game, also against the Blues, but at Xfinity Mobile Arena for the Hockey Fights Cancer game, which I'm really, really looking forward to as somebody that's been in the battle this whole year. So still some meat on the bone for this week for the Philadelphia Flyers. I do want to get to a couple of comments. First, I want to get to this email from Tom. He says, "Hey, Jason, I've been hearing you as well as others talk about shots on net and generating goals. So I looked at the top 10 scoring teams in the NHL and where they rank in shots. Feel free to use this on an episode." Tom, I love when somebody sends me research that I don't have to do. The top 10 teams in the NHL, the number 1 team when it comes to shots on goal is Colorado, and they have 68 goals for. Anaheim, 10th in shots on goal. They have 63. Toronto, 13th ranked on shots on goal, 62. Boston has the 8th highest shots on goal, 61. Carolina, 2nd. We know Colorado's a volume team. They own the puck. And they have 59 goals. Montreal is 30th in shots on goal, but has the 6th highest amount of goals at 58. Penguins are 11th in ranked on shots on goal, 57. Ottawa, 19th. Ranked with shots on goal and 57 goals also. San Jose, 27th in the NHL and 55 goals, 9th in the league. And the New Jersey Devils, 20th in the NHL and 53 goals for 10th in the league. So what does that graph tell me? That, yeah, some teams are high-volume teams that score a lot of goals, and some teams that are not high-volume teams, like New Jersey, San Jose, Montreal, maybe to some extent Toronto, don't need quantity, they need quality. And that's what they are getting, obviously. When you're 30th in the NHL like Montreal and you're 6th in the league in scoring, that's all you need to hear. But we'll see where it goes. So thanks to Tom for the note. Now, I did want to address this one comment that we saw, maybe a couple, on the YouTube feed. First one came from Chris Brown, 8962. He said, "Hey, Jason, thanks for keeping up with all the fans of the show and taking the time to highlight some of them." Obviously, reading through comments, emails, DMs. Think Michkov has 5 points in 2 games against the Oilers. For sure, his first 2 goals was against them. Good signs that he will keep his point streak alive. And he did. This was before the game was played. Good call, Chris. He kept the point streak alive, got the power play goal. Lima Bean said, "Hey, Jason, I've reached out before, but don't know if the comments have been seen." I don't recall comments from Lima Bean, but he said, "I really appreciate the podcast, but can you limit the comments that you read on the show? I don't want to listen to that halfway through a preview episode, and the comments are available to read after the show in the comment section on the YouTube channel. Thank you, and I appreciate all the work you put in." Now, this is an interesting question. Somebody replied to him, said he probably saw it, but maybe like me, thinks your comment was bogus. Now, Lima Bean likes to read them. And LogD27 said, "Go watch another show with less community input." Now, I responded to it and said, "This is the first message I'm seeing from you about this. I'll address it on tomorrow's podcast, this one. But I'm always up to for ways to improve the content. Cheers, Jason." I want to ask you guys, do you like the community input? I thought, now I do the podcast by myself 90% of the time. I'm sitting here in my home studio, and it's me. I don't have a co-host to talk to. So I use the comments, use emails, use DMs to have a conversation with another person and the audience, because I don't have a co-host to just bounce things off of and hand layups to. So that's how I talk about content. And I love getting what's on the mind of you guys to talk about. You guys are the listeners. You're the customer. I'm here to serve. And I want to know what you want to talk about. So when you guys send me emails or DMs or in the comment section, I like to respond to them. But I'm always up for improving the show. Do you guys want more comments and responses and replies and thoughts on them? Emails, DMs? I'd love to get your input on that, because I'm always up, again, for doing. I'm here to do what you guys want and make it as good a content as you can get. And I know I get so many notes from people saying, "Oh, I'd start my day every day with you." I appreciate it. And believe me, I appreciate that more than you can possibly imagine. So I'd love to get people's input on that. So thank you, though, Lima Bean, for the note. And I'm always open to a critique or ways to improve, for sure. Now, I wasn't always that way. I was a little bit more territorial, maybe is the word. All right. Flyers Blues tomorrow. We're going to tee up in tomorrow's episode. We're going to tee up Flyers Blues, and we're going to tee up Flyers Dallas for back-to-back games this weekend. And we'll break it down. We'll get you pumped up, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. So everybody have a great Thursday the 13th, and we'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Flyers Daily.